All right, so today we're going to really dig into something that I think a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
But something that can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
In our lives. And that's budgeting.
Absolutely.
We're going deep on an excerpt today called Budgeting Basics.
Yeah.
How to create and stick to a personal budget.
Right.
And we're going to see what kind of nuggets of wisdom we can unearth here.
Yeah.
And this isn't about becoming like a penny pinching Scrooge or anything like that.
Right.
It's about really kind of understanding the psychology, I think, behind our spending.
Yeah.
And giving ourselves the tools to actually achieve, like those big audacious goals that we have.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to put it. It's about taking control of your finances so you can actually make them work for you.
I love that.
Not the other way around, right?
Yeah.
And what I find so fascinating about this particular source is how it really reframes budgeting as a path to freedom,
Yeah.
but restriction.
Freedom. I like that.
Yeah.
So, but before we get to the fun stuff,
Well,
like actually achieving those dreams,
yeah.
the source gets real about why budgeting matters in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to admit, their point about avoiding those, oh no, where did my money go moments
Yeah,
really hit close to home for me.
for sure.
Have you ever experienced that?
Oh, more times than I care to admit.
Really?
Yeah, that's why I think this whole idea of understanding your financial landscape is so crucial.
Yeah.
It's not just about balancing a checkbook or anything like that. It's about gaining these insights into your spending habits.
Yeah.
And then, making conscious choices that align with, your values and your goals.
Yeah, it's like holding up a mirror
Exactly.
to our spending habits.
Yes.
The good, the bad, and the latte fueled.
That's right.
The source seems to emphasize that awareness is that first step.
For sure.
So they suggest starting by just assessing our current financial situation.
Yeah.
And it seems straightforward enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Calculate your income,
Mm-hmm.
track your expenses.
Yeah.
Yep. But maybe there's a little more to it than meets the eye.
There definitely is. There's a nuance here that I think a lot of people kind of miss.
Okay.
It's not just about noting how much you spent, but really where it went.
Okay.
And the source actually breaks down expenses into, those fixed expenses, that unyielding rent.
Right.
And then the variable ones, which can fluctuate, say those impulse Amazon purchases.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely guilty of the add to cart enthusiasm.
Right.
But why is it so important
Yeah.
to get granular with those categories?
Well, think of it this way. If you only see the total amount spent, right, you might miss those sneaky little leaks that are draining your funds.
Oh, okay.
So categorizing really helps you identify those patterns,
Sure.
maybe realizing you're spending a surprising amount on dining out
Yeah.
versus groceries,
Yeah.
which can then, inform better decisions.
So maybe I can justify that fancy coffee maker
Exactly.
if it helps me cut back on those daily $5 lattes.
There you go.
Okay. I'm starting to see the strategy here.
Right.
But, knowing where our money is going is only half the battle, right?
Sure.
We need to figure out where we actually want it to go.
Yes.
Which brings us to setting those financial goals.
Uh-huh.
And the source gets pretty specific here.
They do, and rightfully so. This is where we move beyond simply managing money
Okay.
to actively shaping our financial future.
I like that.
And, they emphasize what are called SMART goals,
Okay.
which are goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
I am all about making things smarter,
Yeah,
but I have to admit, sometimes goal setting can feel overwhelming.
sure.
Like, where do you even start?
Yeah.
So any tips from the source on how to make it a little less daunting?
Well, they actually provide some really helpful examples.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, I want to save more, think about a concrete goal.
Yeah.
I want to save $5,000 for a down payment on a car in the next 2 years, and suddenly it feels more tangible and actionable.
Okay, I'm feeling motivated already.
Good.
So now we've got our goals in sight.
Right.
We know where our money is currently going,
Uh-huh.
but how do we bridge that gap?
Yeah.
That's where choosing the right budgeting method comes in.
Yes.
And the source offers a few different approaches here.
They do. It's like choosing the right tool for the job, right?
Okay.
So they break it down into the 50-30-20 rule,
Yep.
the zero-based budgeting, and the envelope system,
Okay,
each with its own set of pros and cons depending on your personality and financial situation.
so it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly.
So let's say I'm someone who, loves spontaneity.
That's
Does
it.
that mean I'm doomed to fail at budgeting?
Not at all. The source actually acknowledges that rigidity can be a major budgeting pitfall.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's why, exploring different methods and finding one that really resonates with your lifestyle is so crucial.
Okay, so we found our perfect budgeting method. How do we actually go about building and implementing this budget?
Yeah.
Does the source get into the nitty-gritty details?
They do. And it's surprisingly straightforward. They really emphasize listing all sources of income.
Oh, okay.
Not just your main gig, which is important for those side hustlers out there.
Right.
Then it's about, categorizing those expenses that we talked about earlier and making sure that your income can cover both those, those necessary costs and your shiny new savings goals.
Right. Making sure that there's enough to go around.
Exactly. And that's a really crucial point. Your budget should be working towards your aspirations.
Yeah.
Not just, keeping you afloat.
Right.
And if those numbers don't quite add up, well, that's your cue to kind of reassess, and make some strategic tweaks to, those discretionary spending categories.
So maybe that daily takeout lunch needs a little reevaluation. Time to dust off those meal prep containers.
There you go.
But realistically, tracking every penny can feel overwhelming.
Sure.
Does the source offer any tips on making this whole process a little more manageable?
They do, and they highlight the power of technology,
Okay.
Remember those budgeting apps that we mentioned earlier, like Mint, YM, and others?
Yeah.
These can be game changers.
Okay.
They automate a lot of the tracking for you. They categorize your spending.
Yeah.
And they can even alert you if you're nearing, those limits that you set.
Ooh.
Talk about taking the mental load off.
So they're like little financial guardians.
Exactly.
Okay, those apps sound pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But what about those unexpected curveballs,
Right.
that life throws our way?
Of course.
Like that surprise car repair or a friend's destination wedding?
Yeah.
That just throws your budget out of whack.
Yeah.
Does the source address those life happens moments?
They absolutely do. And it's one of the most valuable sections, in my opinion. They really get real about those common budgeting challenges, like those unexpected expenses we just talked about.
Yeah.
Battling those impulse purchases and even dealing with irregular income.
Oh, it's like they've been peeking into my life.
Yeah.
So how do they suggest we navigate those tricky situations?
Well, for starters, they offer some really practical strategies for tackling impulse buys.
Okay.
Like implementing a 24-hour rule
Okay.
before making any non-essential purchase.
Okay.
It gives you a chance to kind of cool off and really assess, if you really need that item or if it's just a fleeting desire.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I know I've definitely regretted a few online shopping sprees.
Yeah.
Fueled by late night browsing.
Exactly.
But what about those of us with fluctuating income?
Sure.
How can we even create a budget
Yeah.
when we don't always know what's coming in?
That's a great question. And the source actually offers a really smart strategy.
Okay.
Base your budget on your lowest expected monthly income. That way you're always prepared for, those leaner months.
Right.
And anything extra just becomes a bonus.
I love that. It's like building in a buffer
Exactly.
for those inevitable ups and downs.
Right.
But even with the best strategies, let's be honest, staying motivated with budgeting can be tough.
Yeah, it's true.
It's easy to get discouraged or slip back into old habits.
Right.
So does the source offer any tips on how to, stay engaged for the long haul?
They do, and they emphasize that it's not about willpower alone. It's about creating a system that works for you. And, they suggest using visual aids to track your progress.
Okay.
Like imagine a chart that's showing your debt shrinking,
Okay.
or a progress bar slowly filling as you get closer to your savings goal.
That's a great idea. It's like gamifying your finances.
Exactly.
Which makes it so much more engaging.
Right.
What about those moments when you hit a milestone or achieve a mini goal?
Well, that's where celebrating comes in, They suggest acknowledging those wins no matter how small to keep that positive momentum going.
Yeah.
So did you pack your lunch all week instead of eating out?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe treat yourself to a small reward.
Okay.
Did you successfully pay off a credit card?
Right?
Well, time for a bigger celebration.
I love that it's so easy to get bogged down in the day-to-day that we forget to celebrate those wins.
That's true.
But it can make such a huge difference in staying motivated.
Absolutely. And don't forget the power of accountability.
Oh, yeah.
Sharing your goals with a trusted friend or family member can provide that extra boost of support.
Like having a financial cheerleader in your corner.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From why budgeting matters to how to build one, and even how to stay motivated.
Right.
Does the source offer any final thoughts to send us off on our budgeting journey?
They do, and it's a reminder that budgeting is an ongoing process,
Okay.
not a one-time event.
Right.
It's about regularly checking in with your finances, adjusting as needed, and, just ensuring that your budget is still aligned with your life and your goals.
That's so important.
Yeah.
Life changes, our goals evolve, and our budget should be flexible enough to reflect that.
Exactly. It's not about being perfect. It's about being proactive and making those conscious choices that empower you to create a life you love.
And that is a beautiful note to end on.
It is.
But as always, we like to leave our listeners with a little something extra to chew on, something to spark your curiosity and, keep those amazing brains of yours engaged.
Yeah.
What do you have for us today?
Well, we've talked a lot about budgeting for, like those financial goals.
Right.
But what if we took those same principles,
Uh-huh.
the planning, the tracking, the adjusting,
Why?
and applied them to other areas of our lives?
Oh, yeah.
Like, could we budget our time, our energy, even our relationships?
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating, right?
Yeah.
We often compartmentalize these concepts.
Right.
But what if we looked at budgeting as this broader framework for, intentional living?
Okay.
Think about it. Setting clear goals,
Uh,
breaking them down into smaller steps,
Yeah.
tracking progress, and making adjustments along the way.
yeah.
I mean, these are all like those fundamental principles of budgeting that could be applied to almost anything.
Okay. I'm starting to see the connection here.
Yeah,
But could you give me like a concrete example
sure.
of how I could budget something like, say, my personal growth?
Okay, so let's say you've always wanted to learn a new language, right?
Okay.
You could apply those budgeting principles by setting a specific time frame
Uh-huh.
for achieving fluency, maybe 6 months or a year.
Okay.
Then break down that goal into, those smaller, manageable steps,
Right.
like mastering a certain number of vocabulary words each week,
Okay.
or dedicating 30 minutes each day to practice.
And just like with the financial budget, I could track my progress,
Exactly.
celebrate milestones,
Yep.
make adjustments
Yep.
if I'm falling behind.
Right.
It's like creating a roadmap for my learning journey.
It's a great way to put it.
Oh.
Or think about a fitness goal,
Yeah, okay.
Instead of just vaguely, wanting to get in shape,
Right.
you could set a specific target, like running a 5K in 3 months,
Okay.
and then create a workout budget,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
allocating specific days and times for exercise, just
Right.
like you would allocate funds for, different expense categories.
That's such a clever way to think about it.
Yeah, and just like with that financial budget, you
Mm-hmm.
can track your progress, you can celebrate those milestones,
Right.
and make adjustments to your workout budget if needed.
Yeah, exactly.
So by applying these budgeting principles, you're essentially creating a system for success,
Right.
not just financially, but in any area,
Yeah.
where intentionality and consistent action are key.
That's such a powerful takeaway.
It is.
It's like budgeting isn't just about money. It's about a mindset.
Absolutely.
It's about like a way of approaching our goals with clarity and intention and a plan for action.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the real beauty of, this deep dive into budgeting basics.
Yeah.
It's not just about, balancing a checkbook or anything. It's
Sure.
about equipping ourselves with the tools and strategies that really empower us to live more intentional and fulfilling lives
Yes.
in all aspects, not just financially.
And that is so important.
It is.
Well, to our amazing listener out there, as you embark on your own budgeting journey, remember, it's not about being perfect.
That's right.
It's about making progress.
Yeah.
It's about taking control of your finances
Uh-huh.
and using them as a tool to design a life that truly reflects, your values and your dreams.
I love that.
And remember, those budgeting principles can be applied to so much more than just your finances.
Absolutely. Think about, one non-financial goal that you have.
Right.
How could you apply those same principles, the planning, the tracking, the adjusting,
Yeah.
to help you achieve it?
Yeah.
What would your life budget look like?
Yeah. That's such a great question to ponder.
It is.
Just keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those amazing brains of yours engaged.
And until next time, happy budgeting in all areas of your life.